QTV Nightly News, and I am Loliam Kamara. Thank you for joining us. Here are the headlines. The Gambia Environmental Alliance has condemned rampant illegal sand mining and environmental degradation nationwide and called for an immediate national moratorium on both coastal and inland mining. Gambian pilgrims departed Medina for Mecca, where they performed their first tawaf around the Kaaba and completed the ritual between the hills of Safa and Marwa. At the unveiling of its new headquarters in Bundum, CDS Kenjai, spokesperson for the National People's Party, MPP, has stressed that politics is not seasonal. He urged supporters to treat it as a serious and ongoing commitment by investing in the party's growth. In international news, following a heated debate, Ecowas parliamentarians adopted the report from its Committee on Administration, Finance and Budget on the institution's budget performance for 2024. And in sports news, Gambia women's national team got their Wafu A Women's Cup competition off to a winning start with a thumping victory over Sierra Leone. Those were the headlines. Now the news in detail. Thank you for joining us. At a press conference on Friday, the Gambia Environmental Alliance, GEA, condemned rampant illegal sand mining and environmental degradation across the country. The alliance called for an immediate national moratorium on both coastal and inland mining. This follows recent revelations by the Republic media regarding alleged environmental abuse tied to illegal sand mining in Combo South. Usman Jata reports.
The Republic's investigative report, titled The Opaque Mining Deal, Gambling with the Gambia's Future, exposes how alleged illegal sand mining has transformed fertile land into barren wastelands and intensified coastal erosion in Combo South. The report links the removal of protective sand dunes, mined allegedly for export to China, to heighten risks from sea level rise, endangering agriculture, biodiversity and coastal communities. Environmental activists say time for action is now. At the press conference, the GEA's Secretary General, Mohamed Hiwarr, criticized the regulatory failures and lack of enforcement and urges authorities to act before the damage becomes irreversible.
Across communities like Tujereng, Sanyang, Katong, Badokunku and Brufut, families are watching the ocean eat away at their lands, not because of natural tide, but because sand, our coastal buffer, is being stripped and sold, often illegally, to benefit a few at the cost of many.
The GEA holds accountable the National Environment Agency, NEA, for not enforcing relevant laws and the government for not implementing the recommendations of the Janneh Commission to halt illegal mining activities of the former regime. In response to QTV's inquiry, the NEA acknowledged that environmental damage dates back to the colonial and Second Republic eras when enforcement was a major challenge. Regarding involvement of Gach Mining Company, the agency stated that Gach was contracted by the government to clear a stockpile of black sand left by a previous operator. Lamin Samate, NEA Program Manager for Environmental Impact, offered further clarification.
To be frank with you, during the second dispensation, enforcing regulation was a challenge because the executive was itself involved in mining. And because enforcing regulation was a challenge, the issue of rehabilitation doesn't happen. Lamin
A. Sanko of Tujereng village highlighted that visible toll mining has taken on their community.
In the rainy season, everybody go to the swamps we normally call Faros in the Gambia here. That's out by the coast. That is the best location. This is where we have our baramanos and our rice. But now all those ones are gone.
Renowned environmental advocate Kemo Fati connected the ongoing ecological crisis to broader governance failures.
When will the Gambia start to work together? When the ships don't sail and the planes don't fly and the cars don't move, then we realize that we have nothing but each other. When are we going to build that unbroken chain of human cooperation? When are we going to act
out of conscience.
According to the Republic, other coastal communities such as Katong, Batokunku, Brufut and Sanyang are suffering from decades of unsustainable, unregulated mining for both mineral and construction sand. The GEA is calling for a nationwide moratorium on mining and independent audits of all mining activities and full transparency in government-issued contracts. With the environmental crisis deepening, the spotlight now switches to what moves, if any, the previous regulatory authorities will take to ensure enforcement of regulations, thereby protecting the environment.
Gambian pilgrims departed Medina for Mecca, where they performed their first tawaf around the Kaaba and completed the ritual between the hills of Safa and Marwa on Thursday. Babukar Sise is in Mecca with Tiwawan Travel, and he filed this report.
Departing from Medina, all pilgrims wore simple white garments, the ihram, a powerful symbol of unity and equality before Allah. Their first stop was Dhul Hulayfa, also known as Biru Ali. Here, each pilgrim performed 2 rakas of prayer and declared their intention to perform Umrah. As the journey resumed, the buses filled with a unified voice, Labbaika Allahumma labbaika, here I am, O Allah, here I am.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.
After a journey lasting over 8 hours, the pilgrims finally arrived in Mecca. It was around 3 a.m. on Thursday when they gathered outside Nawasi Hotel towers, preparing to perform their first tawaf. Together, they made their way towards Masjidul Haram, where the Kaaba, the holiest site in Islam, stands. The pilgrims continued their recitation.
اللهم لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد.
In an anti-clockwise motion, they circled the Kaaba 7 times, fulfilling one of the core rites of Umrah.
صلي صلاتك صلي صلاتك وتسليما وتسليما أحلى قمر أحلى قمر من نوره من نوره خلق أكوان يا الله.
After Tawaf, the journey continued between the hills of Safa and Marwa, where pilgrims walk and run 7 times, reenacting the part of Hajara in her desperate search for water. Between these sacred hills lies the miraculous Zamzam well, the divine source of water that sustains millions of Muslims each year.
إن الصفا والمروة من شعائر الله فمن حج البيت.
A collective prayer session at Safa and Marwa marked the conclusion of Tawaful Qudum, the arrival rites of the pilgrims. Now, pilgrims will wait until the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, when they will proceed to Mina for the first official day of Hajj. Babukar Sise, QTV News, Makkatul Mukarrama.
CDS Kenjai, spokesperson for the National People's Party, MPP, has stressed that politics is not seasonal. He urged supporters to treat it as a serious and ongoing commitment by investing in the party's growth, including the construction of party offices across all regions, as well as a national headquarters. He made these remarks during a gathering at the party's newly completed national headquarters in Bundum, ahead of its official inauguration. Juldenjai reports.
The event marked a significant milestone for the NPP, showcasing the party's growing organizational capacity and long-term political vision. The newly built multi-million-dollar complex will now serve as the central hub for party operations, strategic planning, and national coordination. Addressing party executives, supporters, and the media, CDSK Njai renewed calls for unity, accountability, and continuous development under the leadership of the NPP.
Politics is not seasonal, it should be continuous thing. And if we mean serious business, we must build homes for our people, our political parties across all regions, and as well as to build a national home. And that is why this multi-million dollar edifice is constructed along those lines, where you have to institutionalize as it is in other jurisdictions outside the Gambia. We want people to take politics as a serious business because it is politicians who will go into the public canvas for votes and then lead the affairs of the state. In so doing, you must institutionalize it, you must regularize it according to law.
Spokesperson Jai also outlined some of the NPP's activities that will be coordinated at the national headquarters.
We now, I use the word, coordinate every member, every activity of the party. We also have what we call membership card. It is also coordinated from the national headquarters with the admin secretary and the secretary media and communication to have a registry and a data of every member and supporter of the National People's Party, wherever they are in and outside the Gambia. We would have known them, we've gotten all their details, where they are, what they do, when and how. So in itself, we are now seeing a new evolution of political coordination in the Gambia through our national to the regional and to the last person.
The NPP spokesperson highlighted key priorities the party intends to pursue following the inauguration of what he described as a magnificent structure.
We are going to launch, of course, a strategic program and activities that will enhance not only the participations and mobilizations of membership to the party, but also it will serve as a tool of development, orientation, and coordination for membership. Because what our party leader believes is that people must be indoctrinated. People must believe in their party. People must also know the party's programs, their ideals, their ideologies, and how do we want to get there for the short term, medium term, and long term.
The NPP was founded on 31st of December 2019 by President Adama Barrow. As the NPP prepares for the grand opening of its national headquarters on the 31st of May, the party sends a clear message. Politics should be practiced with consistency, seriousness, and dedication at all times, not just during elections. For QTV News, I am Juldenyai.
Okay, we'll now go for a commercial break. When we return, we hear about a heated budget debate at the Ecowas Parliament. And in sports news, we hear how Gambia's women's football team got the WAFU A Women's Cup campaign off a flying start. To stay tuned.
fii mooy fan fii mooy Inessa di place bi nga xam ne moom la ñëpp taam place bii bépp xeetu ataaya bu baax rek bu dugg see ci dëkk bi xamal li fii rek la am bara warga bii neex na lool saf na ba pare tamit nag am gu bu neex boo ko naanee rek da ngay kontaan ci saasi añ ba suur ba gëreesal li nga lekk jëndal baara ataaya bii ndax moom la ñëpp taam gis nga sama client bii ataaya bu neex bu ne moom laa koy njëkk a jox ndax moom kat ataaya bu neex rek lay wër baara warga bii mooy warga bi gën te moo gën a saf kon nag ràññee leen ko bu baax kon daw leen gaaw ca Banjul foofu ca Inessa di place bi nga xam ni foofu rek nga ko mën a amee wholesale wala retail mu ngi foofu ci boori court house bi foofu ca Banjul wala nga daw ci bépp marché bépp supermarket bépp boutique fépp foo dugg rek di nga mën a am baara warga bii nga xam ne moom la ñëpp di wër tey baara warga moo dàq ci warga yi man maa ngi ci moom ndax su ma mënee ataaya moom rek lay naan.
Welcome back, and this is QTV News. The International Day to End Obstetric Fistula is observed annually on May 23rd, established by the United Nations in 2012 and first observed in 2013. The day aims to raise awareness about obstetric fistula, a preventable childbirth injury, and to mobilize support for affected women worldwide. Aissatou Barry tells us more.
Obstetric fistula is one of the most serious and tragic childbirth injuries. 500,000 women and girls in sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, the Arab states region, and Latin America, and the Caribbean are estimated to be living with fistula, with new cases developing every year. And yet, the condition is almost entirely preventable. A hole between the birth canal and bladder. It is caused by prolonged obstructed labor without access to timely, high-quality medical treatment. It leaves women and girls leaking urine, feces, or both, and often leads to chronic medical problems, depression, social isolation, and deepening poverty. Its persistence is a reminder of gross inequities, a sign of global inequality, and an indication that health and social systems are failing to protect the health and human rights of the poorest and most vulnerable women and girls. In countries like the Gambia, where access to maternal health care is limited, the prevalence of obstetric fistula ranges from 0.6 to 2.05 per thousand women, with a recent study estimating 160 fistula cases per thousand women of reproductive age. Speaking at the launch of a Zero Fistula campaign in 2022, which seeks to end the condition by 2030, the First Lady, Fatoumata Bahbaro, said the fight to prevent obstetric fistula is a fight for human dignity. According to a 2022 situational analysis in the Gambia, between 335 and 1,052 women live with obstetric fistula. However, it is generally accepted that these numbers are far from the reality, as many of those living with the condition do not report it. In 2024, the medical and financial support for women and girls suffering from obstructive fistula in the Ecowas member states program was launched here in the Gambia. The program, which was spearheaded by the Ecowas Commission through the Ecowas Gender Development Center in Dakar, sought to provide medical treatment, financial assistance, capacity building for healthcare professionals, and surgical interventions. On this International Day to End Obstetric Fistula 2025, the message is clear. No woman should suffer in silence or be left behind due to a preventable and treatable condition. Governments, healthcare systems, and communities must work hand in hand to expand access to quality maternal care, eliminate social stigma, and ensure that every woman can give birth safely and live with dignity. Aissatou Barry, QTV News.
Ecowas parliamentarians have adopted the report from its Committee on Administration, Finance and Budget on the institution's budget performance for 2024, but not without a heated debate and critical observations from members, to which were responded to by the Director of Admin and Finance. Aliou Cissé reports.
The report, presented by Siaka Sama of Sierra Leone at the Parliament's ongoing 2025 First Ordinary Session in Abuja, centered on financial oversight and administrative matters discussed during the committee's meeting held in Banjul from April 28 to May 2nd this year.
Members of the committee made the following recommendations.
the plenary mandates the Bureau of Parliament to establish an ad hoc committee on the community levy, tasked with engaging member states, particularly those not adhering to the community levy protocol.
However, members including Alhaji Sarr and Amadou Kamara of the Gambia and Awaji Inombek Abiyante of Nigeria said the report lacked clarity, specifics, and concrete data.
How come we have a surplus and the argument available to us is that there was no money for the session?
We have seen expenditure on this thing, how to call it, the administrative cost. You go back to the same actuals again, you have 5.5, and as of 2024, you have 5.2. The gap is almost small, almost 64% was executed.
To me, a report of this nature should definitely be more than this, and it should be more explicit, as other members have said.
Their concerns were met with a strong response from the Gambia-born Anna Jany, Director of Administration and Finance, Ecowas Parliament, who informed deputies that her office presented a detailed report to the committee, who at their discretion decided to present a summarized version to the plenary.
Yes, you're seeing a surplus at the end of the year, but in ECOWAS, we receive our disbursements on a quarterly basis. We could not hold the second ordinary session because throughout the fourth quarter, we did not receive funding or there was no disbursement from the Commission until I think it was in December that we received dollars and CFA following release of community levy by Nigeria. That was released just before the Summit of Heads of State, which was after our session.
On why some ECOWAS institutions appear more active than others, despite funding shortfall, Jany responded that institutions like the West African Health Organizations also operate on external funding, unlike the ECOWAS Parliament, which relies on the ECOWAS Levy Pool Fund.
When you look at the admin expenses at the Parliament, these are basically salaries and staff costs, and also operating expenses. So we don't really, and when we budget for these and even what we spend is strictly based on the provisions of the staff regulations. We make sure, obviously, that our activities are in line with our strategic plan, the community strategic framework, and obviously the Vision 2050.
In a similar vein, the Parliament equally adopted the report of the Committee on Infrastructure, Agriculture, Environment and Natural Resources, Energy and Mines at its meeting held in Lomé, Togo. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
Now to sports news. The Gambia women's national team got off to a winning start in the West Africa Football Union WAFU A Women's Cup competition, registering a 3-0 win against Sierra Leone. Our sports reporter Mamadou Gajaga has the details.
The Gambia opened their WAFU A Women's Cup campaign with a comfortable 3-0 win against Sierra Leone to send a strong signal of their intentions in the competition. 3 second-half goals from Fatoumata Jammeh, Fatou Sonko and Kadi Jaju earned victory for Coach Mariama Sow's team. Here is her reaction to the victory.
Yeah, definitely. This is what I was expecting from the girls, because we definitely get the maximum relax because we were training physically, mentally for this game. With the help of the Almighty Allah, we collected the maximum 3 points, and this is what was expected from them. This is not the first time I'm playing with them, because the first WAFU in Sierra Leone, we won them, and last in Cape Verde, we won them. So this is not the first time. In fact, during the World Cup qualifiers that was in Azerbaijan, we collected maximum 3 points, and from Sierra Leone, then from there we qualified for the World Cup. So I was definitely expecting a win. Definitely, we are taking game by game. Our next opponent is our neighbor, that is the Senegalese team. So we are going back to the drawing board. We make sure that all the errors that we get during the first half, we rectify those mistakes, and we forge ahead for the upcoming game against Senegal.
The outstanding performance of the Gambian team earned defender and team captain Rugi Diouf the Most Valuable Player of the Match award. The Gambia will face neighbor Senegal in their second game on Saturday. Senegal defeated Guinea 2-1 in their opener on Thursday. They will face stiff competition against Senegal, who defeated them twice before. The Gambia women's team is yet to register a major success at either regional or continental level. This WAFU A Women's Cup competition will serve as a massive test of their strength. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
Good luck to them. That's all for now in this news bulletin. Join us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. for another bulletin. Until then, have a good night.